Hello, my name is Sean Llewellyn, and today we're going to be looking at French vowel production focuses for English speaking L2 learners of French. So, according to a 2017 paper by Trofimovich, Kennedy, and Blanchette, in a study of French language skills development, it was found that native and second language speakers of French looked for three specific criteria more than others when evaluating for fluency and comprehensibility in L2 speakers, that's second language speakers. Those criteria were articulation rate, mean length of run, and pause frequency. So articulation rate is how quickly they could articulate. Mean length of run was how long they could speak for without pauses, and pause frequency. The study also found that focus on phonetic production showed a measurable improvement in L2 learners in these different criteria for fluency and comprehensibility. So today we're going to specifically take a look at the vowels of French phonology for the purposes of improving these categories. We're going to do that by looking at the key similarities between French and English vowels. We're going to see two familiar vowels to English speakers but are a little bit different. We're going to see lip roundedness as a distinctive feature, and then we're going to look at the nasal vowels of French. So to start, we have a standard American English vowel quadrilateral, and this is important for English learners of French because these vowels are not part of French phonology. That's going to be important because French and English share a lot of cognates and have a lot of loan words from each other. The two languages have influenced each other quite a bit. So English speakers have a tendency to use English phonemes that don't exist in French when pronouncing a lot of familiar words, like the word million, which makes use of the high front lax vowel I. In French, that word is pronounced million, using the high tense front vowel. So we'll see a few more examples like this as we move forward. What French and English do share are the back vowels, all three rounded back vowels, all three unrounded front vowels, and the schwa. That leaves us four unfamiliar oral vowels. We'll get to the nasal vowels later. So the first one is the open front unrounded vowel, which is going to be a little familiar to English speakers. It's not part of standard American English, but it is part of many dialects of English, and we do use this in our diphthongs. It is just slightly more forward, as you can see, than the standard English back unrounded vowel, the ah. So basically, taking that vowel and moving the tongue forward in the mouth, it's a subtle distinction, and what the English learner has going for them is that, as you can see, it's the only low vowel in French, so there's some leeway here as far as allophonic variants. But it's important, again, when it comes to loan words like sabotage or America or analyze. In French, those words are pronounced with this open front unrounded vowel as opposed to using an ash or a schwa like we normally would. So it's sabotage, Amérique, analyse. Something that helps with this is knowing that there aren't really diphthongs in French, at least in a phonemic sense, maybe slightly allophonically, but for the most part, French does not use diphthongs. So when producing French vowels, it's helpful to keep the mouth still, which might help focus on the difference between this back vowel and the more front one in French. Next, we're going to look at the French schwa. which is very similar to English. The only difference is slightly more rounded, which is a byproduct of co-articulation. French uses a lot of rounded vowels and forward consonants, so having the schwa a little bit more rounded tends to be the case. The big difference for English speakers is that French is a syllable timed language and English is a stress timed language. So we see this difference in words like apartment, which is a 3-syllable word. And in French, we have that E there, which is a schwa, but is not reduced, and it does create a 4th syllable. So it is appartement. Same with probably, which is 3 syllables, and probablement. And that does make a difference in terms of the fluidity and comprehensibility that we were talking about earlier. So next, we're going to look at the lip roundedness as a contrastive feature, what makes it contrastive, how to produce these 3 front vowels. We're going to look at some minimal pairs. It's important to remember that, like English, French orthography is non-phonemic, so the sounds will be crucial here and the spellings might be different. So we've got our 2 vowel quadrilaterals again, English and French. And if you notice in the French one, on the front vowels, each front vowel that we're familiar with has an unfamiliar vowel next to it. And that is because in the vowel quadrilaterals, rounding is listed in partners with unrounded to the left and rounded to the right. If we look at the English vowel quadrilateral, we see we don't have any partners that look like that. So though we do have the back rounded vowels, they don't have unrounded partners, meaning that roundedness is not the only contrastive distinction between any vowels in English. In French it is. So these 3 front rounded and unrounded vowels are in the same place of articulation, and lip rounding will be the contrastive feature of those, which takes a little bit of getting used to. The first one is the high front tense rounded vowel. So it goes from the E, making the E sound, holding it, and then rounding the lips. E, 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 E. Has a handful of possible spellings and is found in all 3 word positions. This difference is illustrated here by the 2 words riz and rue, which mean rice and street. The riz is the unrounded vowel and the rue is the rounded vowel. Something really important with the rounded vowels for English speakers is that because we don't have front rounded vowels in English, English speakers like to use our back rounded vowels. And there is a contrastive difference there that's very important. Our bottom example here, the 2 words dessus and dessous mean opposites. Dessus means over and dessous means under. And the only difference is that dessus features the front rounded vowel and dessous features the back rounded vowel. So hearing that difference, understanding what's happening there is really important for some in terms of contrast. The next one is the mid-front tense rounded vowel. Its unrounded partner is A, found in all 3 word positions. And this is the difference between the words se, which is unrounded, which means there, possessive, and su, which is those or these. So there's that contrastive feature. There's also a similar issue here with using the back rounded vowel in place of this front rounded vowel, which will change the meaning of a word. So we have the minimal pairs fou, which means crazy, and feu, which means fire. And so, again, understanding the difference between these 2 front and back rounded vowels will help a lot with comprehensibility, along with fluidity. And our last rounded vowel is the mid-front lax rounded vowel. So A and U. Same deal where we pronounce our normal vowel we're used to, A, and then round the lips, Sœur, sœur. So tight and then sister. Sœur, sœur. Several spelling possibilities, and the phonological rules of this vowel in particular are really predicated on a lot of different phonological environments involving stress. For a basic L2 learner, it just is going to take a lot of practice hearing the difference here. The good news is that native French speakers, it has been found that the mid vowels of French are starting to move away from being contrastive. They're moving in a more allophonic direction. So they're neither fully contrastive nor allophonic at this point. There is contrast to be aware of, but there's a lot of wiggle room for the learner with this vowel. Next, we have the nasal vowels. There's 4 of them, though the mid-front rounded nasal vowel has largely fallen out of use in standard French, so we're not going to focus on that one. What's challenging for English speakers is that the nasal vowels are phonemic and contrastive, unlike in English, and special attention needs to be paid to word position for final position, because we don't produce nasal vowels in word final position in English. So the first one is the low back unrounded nasal. We hear it in the word ensemble, or ensemble is the English equivalent. Is produced by making the back unrounded oral vowel, raising the velum and making a nasal. English speakers have a tendency to epenthesize final consonants when using this vowel, which will change some meaning. So grande versus grand is a masculine feminine distinction, or it can change the meaning entirely with a word like tant, which means in so much as, and tante, which means aunt, as in aunt or uncle. Then we have the mid-back rounded nasal. This one is going to be most familiar in shared words like basically anything that has a tion ending that we use a schwa in, so complication, election, attention. These are all shared words with French, but they use this mid-back rounded nasal instead. So complication, élection, attention. We also hear this vowel in the word bonjour and monsieur, which we pronounce a very different way in our English version. And this also creates a contrastive meaning in terms of feminine and masculine for bonjour versus bonne journée. So, again, important to be aware of the contrastive feature of this vowel. And lastly, we have the mid-front unrounded nasal. This is taking the A and raising the velum and nasalizing it. This one's a little challenging, but again, minimal pair difference. Mais, which means but or however, and main, which is hand. Bay, which is like a body of water, a bay, and bain, which is a bathtub. We can hear this particularly in the sort of practiced phrase un bon vin blanc, which gets used for a lot of learners because it has all 3 nasal vowels, and you can hear this one in the un and the vin for white wine. This is just a small sample size of minimal pairs that are solely distinguished by vowel nasalization. And there are plenty more, but as you can see, this is a really important skill to master for the L2 learner. So today, our conclusions. Comprehensibility and fluidity are important focuses for the L2 learner. And in terms of understanding the French vowels, the most important things to focus on for an L2 learner are awareness of which standard American English vowels are not part of French, so that those phonemes are not being produced when articulating French words. Understanding the subtle differences between the two vowels that English and French sort of share, with the schwa and the low front unrounded vowel. Lip rounding as a contrastive feature, and what that means, how to produce the different rounded vowels, and why that's important. And lastly, understanding all of the nuances of the nasal vowels, why they're contrastive, and how to use them. And that is it for French vowel phonemes. Thank you very much, and here is my work